So in some cases, there are places that can, or that's very, very close to becoming the rural areas. It's all because of things like this that started to deplete, meaning it ran out and it's not as much as available than what it was previously. Okay, so there's
So basically, like they're like a place that had a lot of resources and a lot of buildings, and now like they ran out of resources, and then like if you go to see it today, it's going to be like a rural kind of area.
yes. For example, Pelgrimsrust in the Lowveld, that was a gold mine area. Previous years, it was a large town where lots of people lived. There was lots of resources, but as the gold were now removed from the mining areas and the resource is no longer available, people started to move away from the area because there wasn't a lot of job opportunities anymore. The miners lost their job because what are you going to mine for if there's nothing left? Eh? So then they moved out of that area, and now it's really such a small town and city that technically no one is living there anymore. So then it started, they switched it around to become a tourist town where tourists can go explore there for the day, but then they leave again. So there's not a lot of job opportunities in general that's left in that specific town. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right.
And if the town gets like completely deserted and like becomes poor, couldn't like a more wealthy town like buy the town and like turn it into like a part of their town?
It can be depend on how far it is from the wealthy town itself. Ne? So let's say it was quite close enough. Then they could expand it so that it actually forms part now. So they build more buildings and roads that leads to that town. So it becomes more urbanized once again. But in this case, it's not always the possibility of the length it is away from the other town or city. But the possibilities are there, né? That's why some cases urban areas or rural areas can become urbanized. It just depends on are there resources or not, and obviously everything in nowadays costs money. Né? So even just to put a road down is going to cost money. What not to say build more buildings and perhaps a hospital in that area so that there is something for the people who's going to move there. Okay. Otherwise, if there's not, for example, like a hospital, they still need to drive 45 minutes or an hour or whatnot to the closest town with a hospital. All right. Yusuf,
So
university, jobs, those sort of things, and then your everyday activities that can keep you busy, going to the mall, going to the movies, play paintball, drive go-karts, whatever is available in the area. Okay. So please go and settle. I was reading settlements. Please go and study that when you study the settlements. There we go. Right. So this is your urban areas. Like Sayan also said, it is more of the characteristics of a town and a city. Remember, it has lots of transport options, lots of resources available. If we think of your urban areas, they have more tar roads compared to the dirt roads as well. And then the possibility for you to get to a hospital very easy and quickly is there because in some cases there are more than one hospital in an area. So your resources are much closer to you compared to the rural places. Okay. Rural areas, you also have less job opportunities, where the urban areas have much more job opportunities. So rural, you can see it is wide open spaces, where urban has less open spaces, much more vegetation in the urban areas, less vegetation. So here you have very little resources and very, very little infrastructure, the amount of houses and buildings and things that you can see. Also, very little transport options and lots of farming that is usually taking place in the rural areas. Okay. Aura?
How will resources be a problem in rural areas? Because if they do farming, they will have all the crops.
So
wouldn't
yeah, that is only for the food resources that's available. Eh? Let's say now you have to go and get diesel for the tractor, or you have to go to the hospital. That sort of resources is now going to be very far away. So they do have their food resources, which is obviously a good thing, but sometimes you need other type of food that is not available on the farm, and you still have to drive quite far to get those resources. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, and then lots of job opportunities can also happen if the people make it available to do so. Okay, so the area would expand and grow, and then they can get more businesses in the area. Those businesses can bring job opportunities. Right. Please, please, please. Mental note star in the book. Threats of urbanization. Very important, as well as the solutions to urbanization. Very important. Okay, so we can, for example, ask you just to write down 2 or 3 threats and 2 or 3 solutions, or we can specifically say this and this and this is part of threats of urbanization. Explain why. So then you have to think of what did we discuss in class. For example, the loss of urban tree cover is part of the threats of urbanization. Explain why. Then you have to say they need to cut down the trees in order to put up buildings for more people to live there. So you are taking away the natural habitat of the animals, that sort of thing. So then you have to give us a little bit more for the thing that we have asked. Okay. And then the same for the solutions. For example, providing services for waste disposal, decreasing poverty and job creations, as well as planting more trees. All of those things can be considered as solutions to urbanization. Explain why. Then you have to tell us why is it seen as a good thing. Okay. Job creations is now going to lead to less poverty in the urban area. Or if we think of creating green spaces, now we are trying to put back some vegetation in the area for animals like birds to use. So then you just have a look at what we asked and explain it a little bit in more detail. Okay. Does it make sense? All right. So for that, please just make sure you read carefully. So that was module 2. Any